Hey, what is up guys? LMC here again. I'm hanging out with my friends at A1, as I often am on a Saturday morning, and they've given me my very first cruiser to have a ride. So today we're going to have a bit of a go on the Honda VT400 Shadow. Look at this thing. So this is basically a baby cruiser, a Lamb's approved cruiser, 400cc V-twin, I believe. This one's done about 2,500 K, so second-hand one. Someone must have brought it in for a trade-in or something like that. But I mean, look at it. It looks the business, doesn't it? I mean, it looks pretty simple, pretty classic style of cruiser. Doesn't have the bells and whistles. You can tell it's a baby cruiser, but so as it looks the part. Those big sort of chromed out pipes look great. So I've never ridden a cruiser before, ever. So this will be my first time on a cruiser. But let's take it for a bit of a buzz and see what she feels like. Oh, where's the key? Oh, it's down here. They told me it was down here. Neutral, kill switch. Woohoo! Oh god, I don't think these are stock pipes. I don't think these are. Oh no, Vance and Hines. You probably can't see that there, but where I'm pointing, it has Vance and Hines etched onto the pipes. So clearly some aftermarket pipes, which do it justice. Isn't that fantastic? Oh god, this is so different. Ooh, I'm nervous again, all over again. This is like when I got my L's and I was nervous just riding a bike. It's so different. Alright, let's go. So I mean, I know everyone says this, but I'll get it out of the way. This position is so strange. So I've never ridden a cruiser before, and it just feels so unnatural. Coming off of sort of standard bikes and more sort of upright and sport bikes like I've had with my Honda. Oh god, cornering's a bit sketchy. But yeah, this position just feels so unnatural to me. But my god, once you got used to it, it sure is comfortable. I know everyone says that, but you got to get it out of your system. If you've only ever ridden upright bikes or sport bikes before and you've never tried a cruiser, even though everyone tells you how much more comfortable they are, nothing prepares you for the shock. The shock that is comfort. This thing is so lazy. So lazy. It's like a boat. You know, it's like that feeling of if you've ever been on like a small fishing boat or something and the water's nice and calm and you're just sort of pelting along through very calm still water. That's what this is like. You know, you don't really feel the bumps in the road or anything. It's just calmness. But then you hear that stonking bloody loud V-twin and you're reminded that it's actually not so calm and it's freaking loud and noisy. Oh god. Well, now that we've come to a stop, it is like with the weight, it is heavier than, of course, bikes I've ridden before, but it's not as heavy as I thought it'd be, to be honest. And the extra weight disappears once you're up and moving. It's surprisingly well balanced, so that when you're moving, you don't really notice the added weight. I do notice it now when I'm stopped though, for instance, doing that, I feel the bike tipping in towards the direction that I'm turning, and I feel my legs have to work quite a bit harder to stop the bike from tipping in on itself. But look, once I'm up and moving like this, it's fine. I honestly can't tell the difference. It's really, really light and feels good, you know. It doesn't feel any heavier or any more awkward to I don't feel like I'm really working hard now once the bike's moving. The other thing about the weight that I found impressive actually is I thought because of the style of bike and because of, I thought it'd be a bit heavier and stuff like that, that I'd find it difficult to kind of make subtle changes to the direction of the bike using my hips. You know, because when you're just kind of cruising along like this, then often you don't really need to use your arms that much to initiate counter steering. You just kind of move your hips a little bit to kick it into a counter steer, and you can just kind of cruise around bends like this. I thought that would be a bit more of a struggle with this bike because of the fact that it's a cruiser and a bit heavier and the position, etc. But it's not at all. Like once you're up and moving, this little lightweight baby is easy to flick around. Easy to flick around. Now, you're probably not going to go hitting every apex and smashing through the twisties as quickly as your sport bike brothers and sisters, but this thing handles so much better than I gave it credit for. So much better. All the while being so comfortable. You know, you just feel like you're just cruising along, and yet you can just change direction with ease. It's really cool. Really cool. If you want to know the difference between a cruiser like this and other sort of bikes, the main real difference is it's just a totally different philosophy of riding. You know, like the philosophy here is not going fast. It's not, you know, it's not setting lap times or hitting apexes or anything like that. It's just making a fucking lot of noise as you trundle down the road. And like, I mean, the most obvious example of that, besides the riding position, which I just mentioned, is actually the fact that actually the dash. So if you look at what I've got in front of me, I've got speed, I've got like an odometer, how many kilometers I've done, and I've got a couple of lights. That's it. You know, I've got a fuel tank warning light, so I don't even have a fuel tank gauge or anything. It just tells me when I'm running low. I've got one indicator light, which lights up whether I'm indicating left or right, and I've got a high beam light, and that's it. You know, there's no tack, there's no fuel gauge, as I mentioned, so it's just totally the bare necessities of riding. You just need to know how fast you're going, and you need to know when you need to stop to get some fuel, and that's about it. Everything else is meaningless. And like, it's such a stark contrast to something like, you know, like the 250RR, for example, which my girlfriend just bought, by the way. Yeah, it's such a stark contrast to the 250RR, where like the speedo is like actually tucked away down the bottom corner, so it's actually really hard to find out how fast you're going on the 250RR. You've actually got to work hard to look down in the corner for it. But of course, as a trade-off, the 250RR has the tack right in front, right, you know, right front and center, because you don't care how fast you're going on the 250RR. You just want to know when you're hitting that 18,000 revs, that 18,000 rev limiter. This bike is the exact opposite of that. You know, you don't really care how hard the bike's working, because let's face it, it's got about, you know, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 RPM worth of power, and then you just lose it and you have to shift gears. You know, you just don't care about those things. You just care about cruising along. It's just such a different philosophy to riding. I tell you what, if you're looking to get into bikes and you think cruisers are for you, this one's a great example of it. I haven't ridden many. This is my only cruiser I've ever ridden, but the weight is not intimidating at all. In fact, it feels reasonably nimble, much nimbler than I thought it would feel. It looks the business. I mean, it looks a bit plain. That's probably the only thing you could criticize about the looks. It has the absolute classic cruiser thing down pat, but you know, in this day and age, it does look a little bit underwhelming. You know, in the day and age where cruisers are starting to really look pretty flashy and interesting, and this just kind of has a pretty, you know, muted classic look. It kind of reminds me of the Harley Davidson out of Terminator 2. You know, just no fuss, no bells and whistles, just old school. So if you're into that old school cruiser look, I mean, you can't go past this. This has definitely got that in spades. But in a world of flashy cruisers like Harley Davidsons and Victories and stuff like this, this does look, you know, fairly plain. But oh well, it's a learner cruiser. It's a Lambs approved. It's going to be your first cruiser if you're into cruisers. And if you put a set of pipes on it like what this one's got, you're not gonna be disappointed by your first cruiser purchase. I promise you that. The other thing that surprised me about this bike is that when you're in a high enough gear and you're just cruising along like I am now, so I'm at 70 k's an hour, and I think I'm in top gear because this only has 5 gears. It's actually buttery smooth. Like, there's no vibrations right now. Now granted, if I give it a bit of beans, then it does vibrate. So like, if you're accelerating off the line, it definitely gives you a bit of a buzz through the bum. But right now, at 70 k's an hour, yeah, I feel nothing. It's great. It's only when you open the throttle a little bit that it starts to vibrate. But if you just set it in gear and set it your cruising speed, it doesn't vibrate at all. You You know, so the other thing you've got to accept when you get a bike like this is they aren't very powerful. You know, you aren't getting this thing for its speed, its sheer speed. I mean, like, I found that getting off the line, this thing gets to maybe like 40 kilometers in first gear before you have to change, and you have to change quick because it's the engine just runs out of all of its go. You know, after I've got no idea how many revs I'm doing, of course, because I don't have a rev tack thing, but yeah, you very quickly find the bike just running out of legs. So you just have to absolutely get in the habit of smashing through gears in this bike, really short-changing it the whole time. Alrighty, so some bad points. The biggest weakness I've noticed so far, without a shadow of a doubt, get it, shadow, because I'm on a shadow. Yep, bad joke. Anyway, the biggest weakness without a doubt is the brakes. The brakes are, the feeling on them, the feeling through the handle is pretty poor, feels pretty spongy, and the stopping power is just not very good. So you do have to adjust your riding style, I think, probably to deal with that. You know, you just have to leave more room and adjust for the margin of error, because this thing just definitely does not stop like my bike does. So like here, for example, really got to sort of get on the brakes early and come to a controlled kind of stopping, and I can't really just sort of give the brakes a good squeeze at the last minute, because it just wouldn't stop you. So in an emergency situation, you'd have to be careful, I reckon. Oh, like here, for example. Oh god, yeah, okay. That was a little bit nerve-wracking, I'll be honest. That was a little bit nerve-wracking coming down the hill like that, with brakes like this. Yep, a little bit of wee came out. Alrighty guys, well thanks for coming along on my very first cruise on a cruiser, pardon the pun. I'm going to take it back to A1 now. I'm trying to keep my videos a bit shorter. I always find that my videos blow out to like more than 15 minutes or, you know, almost 20 minutes. So I'm going to try and keep this one shorter. Hopefully I actually hit that, because, you know, I prefer to keep them short and sweet. So I'm going to keep this one short and take it back to A1 now. But of course, as always, if you've got any questions about the bike, hit me up in the comments below. There's lots of things that I won't end up putting in the video, so if you want to ask questions, just hit me up in the comments and I'll let you know what I think. But until then, I'm going to sit back and relax. See ya!